Look at that. I thought I was turning off the timer and I ended up restarting it. Can you hear me, Timothy?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
You loud and clear. So we are
Awesome.
ready to go. I'm just going to mute turn my computer volume down so I'm not. Oh, hold on a second. I know what I'm doing. I've got a replay coming in through YouTube, so I will pause that and in just fact and close that. All right, here we go. We are live, everybody. Welcome, 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 one and all. I'm Chris Thompson. I've got Timothy September here with me, and our objective today is really simple. This is very informal. We want to answer your questions. So several people have sent in questions in advance, which we'll answer. And then, of course, we're happy to take questions from the live chat. Now, we're broadcasting on YouTube and inside of our main hypnosis group that we ran for the 5-day challenge, because, of course, this Training Foundations Live is very similar to what we did in our 5-day challenge. It's just much longer and more thorough. So we do encourage you, post your questions in the chat and we'll be able to read them and we'll be able to answer them here. Timothy, any opening remarks before we recap stuff?
No. For all the people that are watching this, possibly inside of the the Confident Hypnosis Challenge group that we had, the mastermind, this is what Foundations Live is. It was that mastermind,
right?
And now it has become Foundations Live.
That's probably a good place to start off. In fact, and I'll screen share in a second just to show the offer summary of what Foundations Live is. But for those of you who went through our 5-day challenge, because we've run that 5-day challenge now 3 times, I believe, right?
Yep.
And what we did at the back end of it is said, hey, if you want to purchase MMHA, we're going to do this mastermind group as well. And the mastermind group has turned into Foundations Live. It's an 8-week process where we give you some stuff to do in advance. Then you show up to a Zoom room with Mike and me and Timothy, and we basically practice and give feedback to each other for the full hour. It's pretty awesome. So let's do it this way. Let's start off and I'll go to, here we go. Awesome. Look at that. It works. So this is the offer page, which is at mikemandelhypnosis.com/foundations hyphen. In fact, though, if you just go to our main website, there's a banner at the bottom that advertises this. So if you just go to mikemandelhypnosis.com, click on the banner, that'll take you to this page. And there's a video that explains everything. I'm not going to play it for you here because we're really just intending to answer your questions, but I want to make sure we set the stage properly. So this is the video that explains everything. It starts in a few days, which is this Tuesday. This is just a quick summary of what you're going to get. We're going to turn you guys into confident hypnotists who never need a script, because you'll understand the core principles, the concepts of what makes hypnosis work. We'll be covering both the conversational style and the direct style. Let's just go down, because a lot of people were asking basic stuff like, how does it work? Well, we're going to have you join a private community with us. Then we're also going to give you access to a product, which I'll show you in a moment. And then you'll join us in live sessions where we'll be practicing. And the actual practice sessions are listed a little bit further down here. This is the 8-week syllabus. This is probably the most important part of the offer, right, Timothy?
Yeah.
And it explains exactly what's going on week by week. And of course, the dates and the times are here. These are Eastern Daylight Time, which is Toronto time. And of course, you can simply convert that to your own time zone. For example, the UK is 5 hours ahead of us. California is 3 hours behind us. That part's easy to figure out. We give you 2 different practice times each week. You can come to one or you can come to them both. Point here is that if you're in a different time zone like Australia, well, that's this Wednesday night is probably going to work better for you because that's your Thursday morning. Whereas if you're in the East Coast, maybe the 11 a.m. Eastern time is going to work better for you. Alternating every second week, we do a Q&A that's live as well. So you get practice sessions and a bunch of Q&A sessions to go through. These are the topics. I'll just skip all this. I don't think we need to talk about the rest of it. Let's go. What's next?
Yeah, so the Q&A sessions, for everyone that is that's wondering, those are a VIP style backstage pass with Mike, Chris, and myself that are separate from the MMHA Engage every first Tuesday of every month Q&A calls that you get as a member of the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. So with that, you're not only getting the first Tuesday of every month Q&A by joining the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy and being part of the MMHA Engage Facebook group. By joining Facebook Live, you get two additional Q&As practically every month
Yeah.
along with that. So you get a lot of time with us, a lot of practice time, and a lot of your questions being answered time as well.
Yeah. Let's do a quick run through the product. And when I say product, it's a companion product. The training is live that you're doing with us. But in order for Mike and I and Timothy to not have to sit there and just lecture to you all about hypnosis, that's boring. You can already watch awesome videos. And we made more videos to explain the practice sessions in advance. That way, we're using our time more effectively rather than listening to us talk about what the practice exercise is going to be and what the fine points are and all the important details. No, you do that in advance on your own. And then when you show up, you have way more time to actually interact with us rather than just listen to us talk. Okay, so the product is called Foundations Live. It's right in here. This is what it looks like when we add it to your library. Timothy, you created this whole Start Here section, which explains how to use the Facebook group, how to use Zoom. This is just foundational material so that your toolbox is ready, so that you're not going, gee, how do I use Zoom? Because we want to make it as effective as possible. Then every single week, you have a section here. So for example, in week 1, I'm just going to click on this and you can see now this looks like it's not a video. It actually is. I'll just show it real quick. So we give you an explainer video that talks you through the key points of what will be. Mike looks hilarious at this freeze frame. We're giving you a video that explains all about the activities that we will be doing and the key points. So we're sort of in a nutshell giving you a summary edition of what you will have watched already in the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. So we're explaining the key concepts and we're showing you exactly what practice activity you'll be doing. And then, of course, there's these cheat sheets that you get, and everything is really clearly laid out for you. This is actually really user-friendly and awesome. So anything more on that I should mention, Timothy? Otherwise, I'll just kill the screen share and we'll go to answer questions.
No, I think the best metaphor that I can think about this is that the Foundations Live is kind of like at going to like university or college, where if you're doing a science degree or something where you have the lecture and then you do the lab. And I think how I view it is that the MMHA, the lessons that they have as pre-homework, that is the lecture. And then they're showing up to do the hands-on lab. And Foundations Live is your main area to practice, to get all the foundational skills that you need to become awesome, because you're practicing the principles rather than learning to read from a script.
That's a really good metaphor. The idea of you get the lecture in advance and then you show up and you do the lab. And in this case, instead of having a teaching assistant there running the lab with you, Mike and I and Timothy, all three of us are running it with you, and it's phenomenal. So I see Enos has mentioned a hello. So hello to you. Let's start answering some questions then. And I've noticed I've changed the template to that slightly zoomed in so that we get more space taken up. It's nice. All right, let's do this. So first of all, let me actually go to my question list. While I'm doing that, do you have any in mind that you know you've...
The first question I think that a lot of people have is like, well, you guys say you give feedback. How do you give feedback?
Yeah, good question, right? So how do we give feedback? Well, that's the beauty of the community and the live Zoom sessions. So first of all, this is how we'll typically run the live sessions. You show up, we all say hello, we all get in the zone together, get our game on, get our game face on, I should say. Then we just make sure everyone understands what they'll be doing. We will then be going into breakout rooms. So we'll assign breakout rooms, and we do it in a bit of a random way. So you're not stuck with the same practice partner every single time. I shouldn't say that, because sometimes you could feel like, oh, I'd rather mix it up. Sometimes you'll be like, wow, I love my practice partner. I wish I could just stay with this person forever. The bottom line, though, is you'll get better at hypnosis by practicing with a variety of people. And that's why we mix it up. So we'll put you into breakout rooms, usually 2 to 3 people. It could be up to 4 or 5, depending on the exercise, but I think most are 2 to 3 people. And that way you're either working directly with someone else and then switching roles. So hypnotist, subject or client, and then client, hypnotist. And sometimes it's a group of 3 where one person is also the observer, and then we do 3 rounds. When we move you into the breakout room, you practice. Timothy and Mike and I are there jumping around and watching you all, because being administrators, we can hop into the different breakout rooms. We can watch you for a bit, and then we can go into another one if you're having no problems at all. Then once the activity's over, we pull you all back from the breakout room into the, what should we call them? The main room, the main party room. And we discuss it, and we give you some shared feedback. That way, no one feels picked on. We're not going to be like, oh, Johnny over there, you were doing this horribly wrong. No, we'll be very gentle with you and make sure that you'll get direct feedback if necessary, but also as a collective, all of the feedback gets shared and discussed, and we do some open discussion on it. Anything else to add to that?
Yeah, no, I really love the little mini feedback sessions we give. When I was learning how to be a glass blower in college, they gave us what was, in the artist industry, it's called critiquing, which is where you're getting very professional criticism or a critique about your art. It doesn't mean you did bad. It doesn't mean anything like that. It's a way for you to improve. And rather than going out, and I think this is probably the reason why people want this type of thing, where they have not only the practice, but also the mentors to give feedback, is because you can go out and practice on your own. Absolutely. And we really encourage that. Go out, go to parties, find random people on the street, do some impromptu hypnosis, find friends, whatever it is. Practice. And we mean that. Practice, practice, practice. Because if you don't practice, you're going to end up finding that maybe some things work on some people, some things don't. Maybe you'll refine your own individual style, but ultimately, how do you know if you're actually doing it right? And that's what the feedback is for. That way you get that little nudge to get you in the right direction. And then, of course, the community is there afterwards, so you can practice on your own time, because we include homework and challenges inside of Foundations Live, meaning that the practice does not end after the 2 sessions for the week. You're also encouraged to find people in the group, to post up your videos, to share your own feedback, your own wins. We build each other up. That's the whole point of the community. And that's what I love about the feedback.
Yeah. In fact, I was just on Facebook Messenger with one of our students who's come to the Toronto classroom before. And hi, Chad, in case you're watching. And he signed up for Foundations Live. And I was like, why are you signing up? You already know this stuff. He says, I just want to have the fun of hanging out and practice. And I haven't really done much with hypnosis since the pandemic hit in the last 2 years. I feel like I need a confidence boost, and I want to just have some practice and have some fun. So in fact, he joined because mostly it's going to be a lot of fun. So awesome. We'll have to work extra hard to make sure that he gets tons of value, and a few other people who signed up who are definitely not beginners at all. This is fine for beginners. And that's one of the next questions is, who is this for really, at what skill level? If you're a total beginner, that's totally fine. Blank slate, wonderful. If you already have hypnosis skills under your belt, and I would say about half of the members who have done this before did have some hypnosis skills. In fact, sometimes some pretty serious hypnosis skills. This is going to refine your talent and make things easier for you to do. I want to give a little bit of an example here. So Timothy, remember when we were running these practice sessions, the earlier question was, well, how do we give feedback and how does that work? We will notice things that we wouldn't notice if we weren't there to watch you. And I'll give you a simple example. Sometimes when we're practicing conversational hypnosis, the idea would be to practice an exercise, and you and I can pretend to be doing this right now if you want, where we're offering 3 pacing statements followed by a leading statement. And so we might see, the objective might be something like, and you're sitting in the chair and you're listening to the sound of my voice, and you can become aware of the temperature in the room. And let that carry you deeper into trance now. Something like that, right? And you can do one if you want.
Yeah. And as you go deeper, you can become aware of the sensation of the clothes on your body. Maybe you hear the ambience in the room. And you can notice that total darkness with your eyes closed as you blink, and notice that too.
Yeah.
Right. That one's really subtle, but
very simple. Now, here's what we might notice in the practice sessions. People would be doing intonation, something like, and you can notice your shoes on your feet, or something like that. I mean, I'm clearly not picking on anyone in particular here, but we've seen a few instances of that over the years in the live classroom and then on Zoom. So we'll be able to see that kind of stuff or hear that kind of stuff and go, hey, you know what? Intonation, then we can give you some coaching on here's how you make sure that your statements are at least statements, if not commands, with the intonation
Right.
down, that kind of thing. So
Right.
there's so many little examples. In fact, I remember in the last couple of cohorts that we ran, we started a Google Doc together and we're sharing it with each other to discuss these points because there's so
Yep.
many of these things that are common across cohorts, but some things are just unique to one person and we'll say, hey, here's a way to improve, or that was amazing, then we can share it with the group. So it's
Yep.
a really awesome way to do
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
One question we got in the live chat here right now, which is what is your take on hypnosis over the internet? So let's answer that really quickly. Especially in the last 2 years with COVID hitting, a lot of hypnotherapists have moved their practices online, or at least they did temporarily. And then some decided, you know what, this is awesome. I'm getting better results. My clients are very happy that they don't have to travel. Maybe I can give people a bit of a price reduction. Business model is your call, folks. Obviously, we're not going to tell you what you charge or anything like that. But a lot of people moved online and discovered this is great. But then a lot of people said, hey, how do I do hypnosis online? I'm used to doing things like the little shelf induction or the kinesthetic ambiguity or some sort of induction where there is physical touching of the client's wrist or hand on the shoulder to anchor things. How do I do this hypnosis stuff online? We actually created an entire module in the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy all about that. It's called your Online Inductions Bonus Module. And we're teaching the same principles that make hypnosis work without scripts, but now
Mhm.
you can do it over Zoom without having to rely on physical touch.
Yep. And one of the great things about Foundations Live is instead of it being like the architecture of hypnosis, which was a physical training
Mhm.
in Toronto, this one is all online based. So to answer your
Yeah.
question, Enos, what's our takeover? For 8 weeks, you're going to get
Mhm.
nothing but online only practice,
That's
which is awesome
exactly
because
right.
it still transfers to the real world and vice versa. So you're still getting 8 weeks of practice and training.
Mhm. Yep. Now, 80s Warrior says, are we going to see the presence of the Wizard King? Yeah, Mike is actually writing right now. We are producing a brand new product. It's actually, it's not a brand new product. It is a brand new product, but it is a rebuild of what's called our Personal Development Academy. We're deep in the video production of this right now, and Mike is actually putting together the stuff we're doing on Friday that we're going to record videos on. So no, Mike is not showing up. This is a Q&A session just to answer questions about Foundations Live. That said, you can be absolutely sure that the three of us are at all of the sessions. We're there. You're getting training from all three of us. Mike's not handing it off to anyone else, or nor am I. We're all there to give you feedback. So there you go. Jeffrey also just said, I've signed up for MMHA Lite, have been very challenged on time, and I've yet to do those lessons. Can you talk more about how that content relates to Foundations Live? Here, let me highlight that comment real quick. I love that we can do this. This is cool. Boom. Okay. So this is Jeffrey's
Awesome
question.
feature.
What's that?
It's such an awesome feature.
Yeah, web-based like production studio. This is really cool. Okay, so if you're having a hard time going through all of the content in advance, no worries. Don't worry about it. What I would recommend is just make sure that if you do sign up for Foundations Live, let me turn back the screen share. In fact, here, I'll hide this because we don't need that anymore. Let's turn back to the screen share and let's go to, for example, you see here week 1 activity explanations and pre-homework. So the expectation is you show up having watched this one video which explains the exercise, and you've also gone to the MMHA content. In this case, we're recommending lesson 1 and lesson 2. That would take you don't have to watch every single video, because if you watch this, you'll know which videos in lesson 1 and lesson 2 are key. You could probably pick and choose. I would say if you give it an hour, you'll be able to go through what you need to go through in advance, be familiar with the material, and that's it. Then you show up to the Foundations Live practice. Then
Yeah.
after, if you want to do the homework, which we recommend you do, it's totally optional. We're not going to pressure you. We're not going to berate you and do it, but we recommend you do give yourself another hour per week for homework. And that would take you to approximately 3 hours a week of invested time. So you're investing about 3 hours a week in yourself to get really good at hypnosis. If you can handle that, that's great. If that sounds like it's not going to fit your calendar, you're just completely swamped in life and you
Mhm.
can't commit 3 hours a week to do this kind of stuff, I would probably recommend holding off at this point and don't join Foundations Live. I don't want you to waste your money. We'll run another cohort in the fall. We haven't figured out the exact dates yet, but we definitely will not be doing one throughout the summer months. So we'll come back in the fall. We'll do another cohort. So hopefully that answers Jeffrey's question.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, cool. Let's go back to the questions. We made
Yeah.
notes in Slack of what was coming up, and then do by all means continue to post them in the chat if you have more. So
I got
next
a
question.
question here.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So what if I don't want to become a professional? That's one of the other questions we get is, well, what if I don't want to use hypnosis
Mhm.
professionally? What if I just want to learn like conversational skills and
Mhm.
what can this still apply in my life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. In fact, let me ask you this. When you started doing hypnosis, you were already doing life coaching, things like
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
assume that in your case, you knew you wanted to do hypnosis professionally and you were
Right.
moving away from, in fact, you mentioned glass blower was like,
Yeah.
you've done a lot of cool stuff in your life. So you were becoming a hypnotherapist, hypnotist, consulting hypnotist, whatever you want to call yourself, folks. We're not going to tell you what title you should use, but
Right.
consulting hypnotist is a very common one. So let's talk about it that way. You knew
Cool.
you were going to do that. We've had plenty of students, though, who come in as school teachers, for example, or their parents, or their salespeople, and they just want to have hypnosis as a skill in their toolbox. Sometimes it's because they're planning on applying it to their everyday life at work, which might be conversations with busy executives or customers or whatever that might be. Other times, they don't actually have any direct plans to implement it in their work slash career. They just
Right.
have big hearts and they want to know more about how they can help people on an informal basis. And there's definitely going to be some value in there for you. So I would say there's a mix. I would say, generally speaking, half of our students plan to do this in some sort of way professionally. The other half are just curious. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And regardless of whatever side you're on, the I'm going to use it professionally or
Hmm.
I just want to have the skills and the knowledge,
Hmm.
getting the practice so that you do have those skills regardless of whatever are absolutely key to your success in understanding hypnosis.
Yeah.
Personally, I've actually found that while wanting to do it on a professional level, having these skills has improved my ability to communicate personally with people outside of my profession.
Yeah.
And also, it's allowed me to understand myself better, whether that's doing a self hypnosis session, which I had never even known that was possible until I learned
Hmm.
hypnosis. I used to call it meditation. And then I realized there's an even deeper level of that, which is self hypnosis, because you're now adding other stuff to it, which is awesome. But also, my personal relationships improved because I understood what my own personal triggers were.
Hmm.
Maybe there was something in the past, and now it's shown light on that. I also learned that I was using some very negative self talk because I didn't understand language. Like, language is so key to everything that we do, and our ability to communicate it precisely so that we get
Yeah.
maximum benefit in our life is key, right? So instead of hearing a bunch of ums in this conversation, instead it's been a beautiful free flow of nominalizations and unspecified verbs that you probably were completely unaware of until I just pointed it
Now.
out.
That's
And
right.
what's awesome about it is that it's just automatic. And once you get your language generator up and running, which is what you'll learn in the first 2 weeks of Foundations Live,
Mhm.
once you get the language generator up and running, it's an unconscious thing. It's second nature at this point.
That is a really excellent point that in the past, and I'm not saying that I have completely and perfectly fixed this or anything like that. I still will say the or ah or filler phrases of some sort will come up, but I notice them and it's interesting because one of the ones I noticed most recently was I'd fill in a blank with or whatever it is. And now I ring the bell. I go, I just said it. And I'll catch myself as I'm about to say that filler phrase and then maybe either not say it at all or build it into a more complete sentence or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish as you continue to master these skills. And then I go, aha, I fixed it on the fly. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But also the filler phrases by practicing conversational hypnosis. It's really given me a sense of comfort as I do it now and demonstrate how when you give yourself permission to pause and really consider all that it is that you want to say and get your message across in a way where you seem confident because you actually are confident. And there's no more, you know, like, I mean, that stuff goes away when you practice conversational hypnosis. So that would be another angle. If you're not planning on doing this, so-called doing this professionally, there is a real benefit in training yourself to be an eloquent speaker who's
Hmm.
comfortable pausing, who's comfortable building rapport with people while using these things that we call never-ending sentences that we learned from our wizard, Mike Mandel.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it seriously is. Hypnosis is one of those things that just never stops. Once it's like opening Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Once you learn what's really going on, everything else just starts to make sense in your life.
Mhm.
Like the psychodynamic loop that you'll learn in lesson 2 and 3
Mhm.
in not only MMHA but also in Foundations Live.
You're in a loop with your client. You're
Yeah,
working together hypnotically.
yeah, like that. Also, with Clark Hall's 1933, anything that assumes trance causes trance
Causes trance.
principle, being able to apply that to other places in my life have
Mhm.
not only improved my own personal life, but the way that I view my client because I'm able
Yeah.
to automatically step into that second position of empathy and immediately apply rapport and all these other techniques, and they come out feeling awesome.
Yeah, you're reminding me that when Mike taught me this so many years ago, anything that assumes trance causes trance. And by the way, the reason we're bringing this up is that's how we use catalepsy. That's how Mike has taught me, taught you, taught all of our students over the years to use catalepsy. It's a backdoor into trance. It's a little bolt on for the first 15 seconds or so of your session. You bolt this little creation of catalepsy, which is a floating limb of some sort. Then you go on with the verbal induction, like pacing and leading style
Mhm.
activity. And we're practicing all of that and building you up slowly but surely. You can do this stuff. And years later, very recently, I now call these cause and effect loops because
Mhm.
you can have something that is the cause of something else. So this causes an effect, or
Right,
you can have this cause the effect. I'm not centered in my
right.
screen, so that didn't work quite well, but you get the idea. A
Yeah.
can cause B, or B can cause A. It
Yes.
all that determines the cause versus the effect is which one you do first. The one you do causes the other. If you do the other first, it causes the first,
Yeah.
and they work in a loop. So you can do catalepsy to get trance, or you can get trance and then cause catalepsy as a result. It's
Yeah.
faster to do it backwards, we find. But this plays out in so many different areas of life. And in fact, when we were redesigning the Personal Development Academy, we realized that when it comes to your state, well, how do you control your state? You control either your physiology, which you can include your muscle tension, how you hold your body, and your breathing should fit into there, or you can control your focus, which might be close your eyes, change the submodalities on that image, change what you're telling yourself,
Mhm.
or ask yourself better questions, empowering questions. Those are all areas of focus. And so if you change your physiology, you'll automatically get a focus change, right?
Right.
Try sitting as if you're all depressed and then change your physiology so that you don't have that so-called depressed posture, and try to stay focused on that depression. And it's very difficult. Your focus will
Mhm.
follow the physiology change that you made. And
Right.
similarly, if you change your focus, your physiology will follow. You'll move out of that depressive way of holding your body. So this is a really nice set of principles that hypnotists will learn and then be able to carry with them out into the real world, whatever that is.
Yeah. So an awesome principle
Mhm.
that applies with this in real world, right? Chris, you and Mike and several other hypnotists that you know in the local Toronto area do jujitsu.
Yep.
And is that I'm also a black belt, and so I have some judo and jujitsu stuff built in
Mhm.
to the style that I was learning. And one of the principles I loved about this, and you can apply this to jujitsu and judo, is that the head always follows the body,
Yeah.
or the body will follow the head.
Mhm.
So you can apply both of them, and it's the exact same principle.
Yeah. Do you want the body to go somewhere? You can move the head. Do you want the head to move somewhere? You can get the body moving. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, again, it's the cause, the effect,
Yep.
effect, cause.
Very nice. I'm just looking through the chat here. So avoided. Okay. Enos was saying avoided it due to uncertainty of internet connection. For
Mhm.
sure. Understandable. If you have really choppy internet, then Zoom sessions aren't going to work for you, and nor would live training like we're doing here with
Right.
Foundations Live. So you definitely want to fix that. And then we said D Miller said hypnosis on youth through the internet. I'm still trying to figure out why so many boys in my life think they're girls. Okay, not even going to touch that one in this call.
Yep.
But yeah, I totally hear you on people and their emotional stability. You can help people online just as you can help them in person in the real life.
Yeah. So to keep this focused here, someone asked here, how many people are there usually per breakout room? We answered that. It's somewhere between two
Yeah,
or three.
usually 2 to 3.
A big group style thing, then it's everybody. What happens in the private community? In the private community, that's where you're going to get the some of the homework and challenges. It'll give you a location to post your
Yeah.
answer to the homework, whether it being, give us a metaphor, do a recorded video session so that we can watch how your calibration skills are, whatever the case
Yep.
is.
Or just ask any other questions that
Yep.
apply to Foundations Live
Yep.
training and say, "Hey, you know what? I forgot to ask on the live session when we were wrapping up." There's me doing it. I'm making it up.
Right.
X. I forgot to ask X question. Here's my question. Okay, no problem. Now we can answer you in the private community and you can go on and incorporate that in your practice. But yeah, like Timothy said, most of the community is about here's what we're doing. Here's me posting my video demonstration of that activity for homework. Here's feedback coming in from Chris or Mike or Timothy or all three of us. And other people can watch your homework as well and comment and go, oh, that's neat. That's how it works. So you're getting more experience doing it. That's the real value.
Yep. And Superman asks, are the breakout rooms recorded and posted anywhere?
Hi, hey,
Unfortunately,
hello. I know who that is.
cool.
The breakout rooms are not. I don't even think you can record them in Zoom. You can only
No,
record the main room in Zoom. But we made a real simple decision here that for the practice sessions, we're not recording anything. The
nothing.
reason is the value is in showing up. If you're
Mhm.
planning on buying this because you think, I may only be able to attend 20, 30% of the meetings, I'll just watch the replays. No, that's not going to make you confident. There is
Yeah.
no value in giving us a bunch of money where you could show up and you don't show up and you don't actually practice and get the skills. So
Yep.
if you don't think you can actually make it, I would not spend the money. Instead, I would do the go at your own pace Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy videos on demand. And I'm answering this question for everyone, not just for Superman or Superman, as we call. It's really, really valuable if you show up. Otherwise, save your money. Just join the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. You can start with a 14-day free trial on our homepage, MikeMandelHypnosis.com. You can start going through it all. And then when you say, this is awesome, now I want practice. I need practice, and I'm having a hard time finding my own practice partners, getting feedback. That's why we came up with this, because we did a focus group, I guess you could call it, with a bunch of our students and said, what is it that you want that would make the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy better? And the vast majority, the clear winner was practice. Now, we couldn't do it at scale with the entire community of 1,000+ students, more than that. So we launched Foundations Live. It's a separate purchase. Those who want it are willing to pay for the training, they can buy it. Speaking of which, we'll we'll probably have to close the doors on this pretty soon. We're just about capped out. So
Yep.
hopefully this is going to be useful for those of you who are on the fence, but we don't want to pressure anyone. If you can't make it this time around, we'll be doing this again in the fall, but we are going to close the doors on this. Well, for sure
Yep.
tomorrow night, maybe before then.
Yep. And so I see a question here. It's not a question from Dennis. It says, hello from Sweden.
Yeah.
And the question to back that up that I have is how do I know if I'm able to do this? Is my English good enough? How,
Oh,
like,
yeah. Good question.
yeah.
So how do you know? Oh, and by the way, just want to close the loop on Sue Perman's question there about recording. He's saying more on the privacy side of things too. Yeah, for sure. So the Q&As will be recorded and they will be posted up in the community and in the product for everyone to access the archive. So if you wanted to show up to the Q&A and you were concerned about your face being on, you could just turn your camera off. For the practice sessions, no recording at all. So you're good there. Okay, English skills. If you can understand what we're saying and you can speak to us and we can understand you, your English is good enough. It's really that simple.
Yep. Yep. We've had several of our last cohorts with people who would consider themselves having broken English,
Mhm.
yet they were fluent enough that you understood what they said, and they still were able to produce a trance. They
Mhm.
were able to do the group sessions that we did. They got the practice time in, and
Mhm.
they love the training. They still benefited
Yeah,
from
I was thinking about, for example, Denis from France in our last
it. Yeah.
cohort. You know, a lot of times people go, I don't know if my English is good enough. Then you listen to them. And in hypnosis, you get to talk slower. So you have more time to consider what you're really going to say. And the more that you practice it, even if English isn't your first language, you have this wonderful accent. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I listen to a guy with a really nice French accent and he's speaking eloquently in English, even if his vocabulary isn't immense, you
Right.
don't need a huge vocabulary in hypnosis or in English or in conversation in general. You just need to be able to get your message across. So if you can communicate well enough in English for other people to understand you in a normal conversation, you could go on vacation, you could order lunch at a restaurant, no problem. You can do hypnosis in English. And then, of course, the skills carry over to your own language. So whether you're German, whether you're Dutch, whether you're French, no problem at all.
Yep.
What else do we have? I'm going to just go to my list here.
Yeah, I think we've almost hit it. I mean, really the only
Yeah.
one I'm seeing here
Oh,
is
what
am I too advanced?
Yeah. Am I too advanced? If you are already very confident doing hypnosis, you already feel like you don't need scripts and you could use a script, that would be fine. But you would much prefer to have a normal hypnosis session where you intuitively drive the session based on the skills that you know, then you do not need this. If you are instead saying, well, I understand conversational hypnosis and I understand the element induction. I understand the braid induction. I don't really know how to put the pieces together. I don't really feel super comfortable interviewing the client. I don't know what questions to ask them. Then, when I do get the answers to the questions, I'm kind of stuck sometimes knowing what should I do once I hypnotize them. Oh, okay, I can put them in trance, no problem. What do I do then? What technique should I use? Okay, this will be useful for you because we're going to help you understand how to connect the hypnotic language and the induction with what you do in that trance after that trance is robust and developed. How do you do change work? And then once you have that, because obviously in 8 weeks, we're not going to teach you every hypnotic change protocol under the sun. But let's say later you pick up a copy of a book like Freddie Jacquin's Hypnotherapy and you say, man, because he's a wizard too. He's awesome. And you go, I love this protocol. How do I do that? You will never ask that question. You'll automatically know, oh, I just do the interview. I put the person in trance. I'm going to use yes sets and compliance sets. And then I'm going to put them in trance and deepeners. And then I know exactly where this protocol from Freddie Jacquin plugs in, or Melissa Tears, or whoever you pick as your guru trainer. There's some great stuff out there and you'll know how to slot it in. That's what we want you to walk away with, that confidence that you can do all of the bits and pieces of hypnosis. And later you go, oh, I like this piece better. No problem. Pull out that Lego block, pull out that Lego block, put this new one in instead. It's the same thing. It's
Yep.
similar to changing the tires on your car, right? I want
Yep.
different. I want white wall tires now. Okay, great. No problem. Put them on. You know how to do it. You got the
Yep.
machinery.
And the way that Foundations Live is laid out per week is exactly like Chris mentioned. It is like
Yeah.
Lego blocks. So the first week you start learning how to use language to do just pacing about things that could be in an experience. And then the
Mhm.
second week and even into the third, we add on catalepsy and then we add on leading statements to now take a person inside. And
Yeah.
then by the time that we hit week 3 and 4, you're already having a language generator up and running. You've done embedded commands. You've already done a mini session where we've broken down a typical
Right here.
hypnosis session and made it simple simple, easy to follow steps. So by the time that you're working on people in full sessions in week 4, your language generator is up and running, and
Mhm.
you're already starting to gather information. And we teach you what to listen for and what to look for that your client might be saying, so that you can then use that in the sessions. So by the time that you're ready to start doing metaphors, where you can have the on or the off ramp from your sessions to really boost what you're doing, but by the time that you get there, you've already done full sessions with your practice people, meaning that you've hypnotized either one person or people in groups. You've got your language generator up and running. You can
Mhm.
do full sessions because you understand all the building blocks and the steps. And we give you a universal tool of change so that you
Yeah,
know without a shadow of a doubt that you can walk away after the 8 weeks knowing if somebody sat down in a chair next to you with an everyday problem like procrastination, or maybe they're stressed, or someone at work just really irritates them, you know that you can help them without ever needing a script. That was our entire goal, is to make
that's
you
right.
a confident rock star hypnotist with as little tools as needed to produce as many results as you need to.
Yeah, the real challenge was if you Pareto principle hypnosis, 80/20 rule, right? What are the key things that you need to know and be good at?
Yep.
And we boil it down. Actually, I'll screen share this again really quick so that because I zoomed in so that you could see the different summaries. Well, week 1 and 2, you're building your language toolbox. You have to know how to speak and be able to do these never-ending sentences, which is all basically versions of pacing and leading. So whether you're pacing and leading their tangible experience sitting in that chair, noticing the weight of the fabric on their shoulders, the temperature of the air, etc., or driving their attention inwards as we often do before we make the change, we now want to drive and have them connect in internally to their emotions. And that's where the Nuvi language comes into play, which we're doing, of course, in week 2, and working more on using nominalizations, unspecified verbs, so that you're speaking in artfully vague sentences and connecting your thoughts with linkages so that you can continue to talk until they stop you. You can practice this in the real world. It's a lot of fun. You can do your never sentences at a dinner party and see when somebody clues in that you're still talking. It'll take quite a while before they do because continuity of it is so awesome. Anyway,
Yep.
that's your week 1 and 2. Then we continue on with some additional skills in week 3 where we're beginning to do mini sessions, but then we're learning in week 4 how to gather more information, the interview. That way you can aim your hypnotic language at the change that the person is actually looking for, which goes back to your point, Timothy, that you can actually get a little bit of change work done on yourself during this 8 weeks. And I'll give you a quick example. In our last cohort, Greg, I think he showed up for an extra session and we had odd man out kind of numbers. So we put him in a group with us. And I said, Greg, you get to pick who you work on. And he said, okay, Chris, I guess I'm working with you. And I had to pick a thing that I wanted to work on. I said, you know what? There's this thing in my workout. I've been changing it up and doing, I'll short version it for you all, that I've been doing this other stuff that I'm really enjoying. And this part of my workout, I've been leaving behind and making excuses that I don't have time for. So he did a session on me aimed at fixing that. And actually, I'm happy to report that I've been back to it doing both styles of workout, phenomenal changes, all in 6, 7 minutes, just because I did some really simple thing that he guided me through that had me imagining behaving differently. And it worked.
Yeah. And he was one of the people in the cohort that came in with zero skill. So by week 4,
Yeah.
he was already helping people
Yeah.
using hypnosis.
Yeah, and then universal change tools, for example, then we spent a couple of weeks on metaphors, isomorphic and general metaphors, nested loop metaphors. This is all about how to tell stories that change lives, and it's awesome. And then we wrap up week 8, which is a really fun week about guided imagery and direct suggestions. So you get to put the whole package together and do some really cool stuff that involves intuitive work. And
Yes.
it's insanely awesome. Let me turn off the screen share, and we're getting pretty much down. We're 45 minutes into this live stream now, down to the not down to the wire, but down to the end of the prepared questions. I'm just looking for any other questions that come into the live chat here. and not seeing any. We can wrap it up if you want. Let me make sure that I mention the banner at the bottom of the MikeMandelHypnosis.com website will take you straight to the Foundation's live offer page, and that link includes the promo code, which you'll want. That's why you want to click on that, because if you are planning on signing up, the listed price is a couple of $100 higher than if you install the promo code FLEB, which stands for Foundation's Live Early Bird. So you want to put in the code FLEB if it's not automatically applied at checkout, and that'll knock $200 off the price. So it should show up as $495 when you're paying. If you're seeing it at $695, you do not have the promo code applied, and we don't want to overbill you. We're going to raise the price the next time we do this. We'll probably introduce it with maybe there still will be an early bird rate. No guarantees on that. The value gets better every time we do this. The price will go up every time we do this. Not necessarily every single time, but over time, just think of that as your trend line. It's going up, not down. So without pressuring anyone, I just want to make sure you know, use FLEB when you're checking out. Any other comments, Timothy?
No, I have been really. Whoa, that's
the dog has comments. This stuff really comes out.
So I've actually been really excited about the last couple of cohorts we've had, because we've trained people all around the world. It didn't matter if they were in Australia, Canada, the United States, wherever.
Right.
We've not only trained with them, but we've also had the opportunity to build really awesome friendships that have not only helped me, at least in my personal life, because I've also experienced that same change that you have working with them, but it's also helped me be able to expand my own personal network.
Yeah, it's tremendous. Getting to know people. It's the next best thing to being in an actual live classroom with everyone, with the caveat that in the actual live classroom, we spend about 5 days together and we're doing the teaching in that time period. Whereas with Foundations Live, even though we're not in the same physical room, we're spending more quality time with everyone because the teaching piece is done separately. This is the show up, practice, and discuss and get feedback piece. So you get far more hours in total of practice and feedback than you would if you were to show up to a 40-hour architecture of hypnosis classroom training in Toronto, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So that's why I think it's such a compelling offer, and I'm really glad that we came up with this. And it was your idea, Timothy. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Not a problem. Don't thank me, thank my recruiter, or whatever they say.
What's that?
In the Army, they would always say, "Don't thank me, thank my recruiter." And so that you're like, yeah, good job. Well, I mean, it's all you guys.
Oh, somebody, Mahesh just told me that FLEB returns invalid code. Let me check. I wonder if I had it programmed to turn off or something like that. So live on the air, I'm going to check right now. And in fact, Timothy, if you want to do the same thing, we can punch it into the order form. Let's try. Okay, I'm going to apply. First, I'm going to apply the code FLEB and see if that works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I bet you I've got set to expire because we were planning on removing the code, and we thought, you know what, we haven't done really an appropriate job of promoting and making people aware of this. We didn't do a really hammer at home kind of promotional sequence, so we decided not to deactivate the early bird code at all during the sales pitch. And if it did expire, I'm going to fix that for you right now. Thank you for live on the air helping with that. Let's go to settings. Let's go to discounts and let's check it. FLEB, where is it? Here we go. Oh yeah, it says that it expired. So now I'm just going to change the expiry date to, I'll give it a couple more days. We're going to shut it down before that anyway, but now it should work. So let's check that again. And
yeah. Mahesh,
yeah, it works. It's done. It's fixed live on the air. Thank you for that. I really appreciate, Mahesh, your feedback. That is a lifesaver. So I'm not having a whole bunch of disappointed people emailing me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So when you sign up, Mahesh, send Chris at MikeMandelHypnosis.com. We'd love to send you a shirt.
Yes, everyone who joins Foundation Live is getting one of these shirts. We, of course, are sending those out. That's a no-brainer. In fact, if you're watching this and you were through one of our prior cohorts and you didn't get one yet, because we told all of you about it, but some people go, oh, yeah, you're going to get a shirt, and then they forget to send me the information. Definitely hit us up on email and just let us know where you want to ship it to. And if you're a prior member, we will get it to you. Fantastic. So awesome.
It worked.
Awesome. Yeah, it worked. Okay, great.
That's
awesome.
We start Tuesday. We're starting.
Yeah, we're starting. That's true. Yeah. Before we close, let's give a reminder that the reason we're closing the doors no later than end of tomorrow is because we need you in the MMHA. The Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy is a prerequisite. You must be a member of the academy because that's where the training is. That's where the bulk of the training is that you're going to show up and practice, right? So you need to have, like I said, an hour, maybe 2 max, just to get your feet wet and go through lessons 1 and 2 before you show up to the first practice session. Yes. Well, the first practice session is Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Then the repeat of that the same week is the next day on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Whichever one you show up to, or perhaps both, you need to have a chance to go through the first couple of lessons of the MMHA. So we don't want people sneaking in like Jack the Backdoor Sneaker on Monday night and saying, okay, I'm showing up on Tuesday. And then guess what? Everyone's done their homework. Everyone's watched the videos except you. And now you're not going to get much value out of practicing the stuff because you don't know what to practice yet.
Yep.
If that makes sense, then give me a nod. All right.
Yeah, absolutely nobody wants to be left behind like Jack the Tree Snake.
That's it. All right. So how about we wrap it up? That's awesome. I think we handled all of the big questions that came in ahead of time and some that came here on the live chat. And of course, this turns into a replay automatically. So the YouTube crowd, the Facebook crowd, they can all watch the replay. And yeah, if you do have any final questions, you can hit us up on email. You can send them to me directly if you like, chris@mikemandelhypnosis.com. You could also send them to our support address, which is support@mikemandelhypnosis.com. Either way, we'll get you answers as fast as we can, and we will look forward to seeing you on Tuesday or Wednesday at the very first practice session for Foundations Live. If the timing doesn't work out for you for any reason, and this isn't quite right, or maybe it's a little bit above what you can afford, you're not ready for live practice, hopefully you'll change your mind on that because you need to practice to get good at anything. That said, if you're not ready yet, join the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy from our main website, 14-day free trial. You can soak up as much knowledge as you can during that time. Even if you cancel at the end of the trial period, that's totally fine. We want you to know what's out there so that the next time this comes around, you'll be prepared and say, okay, I'm good. I'm joining. I'm going to come hang out with you guys. So come hang out with Timothy and with Mike and with me, and we're going to have a blast. And we'll see those of you who are joining on Tuesday or Wednesday or both.
That's right.
All right, let's end it in our normal fashion. So thanks again, and good night.